Hello, nice people, and thank you for joining us. And I say us because I'm not alone. I got this guy with me. And that's why we're all here, right? To learn how to make the holiday gnome. So he's going to hang out here with us. Now, if you're watching this, it probably means you have one of these, the kit. So I thought we'd start by unpacking the kit together and seeing what's in here. So when you open up, you will find a piece of flannel fabric, and that was wrapped around a piece of cardboard. All of this will make sense as we go through the process. And there's some t-shirt yarn. So this is yarn that is made from a repurposed t-shirt, and it's been stretched so it's a round shape. And you also have a length of lace, as well as some fur, of course. Now this is wool roving, so it is wool that has not been spun into yarn yet. There's also a piece of twine, and that's to turn him into a hanger there. And lastly, his nose, a wooden bead, and some other findings. In this case, I have a couple of small buttons and a little silver bead. Everybody might have something different. So I'm going to set the little pieces aside in a cloth bowl so I don't lose them. And let's get started. So the step I'm going to start with is, oh, I forgot, you also have a pattern, very important. The only other things you'll need are a pair of scissors and some glue. Just plain white glue is fine. If you want to use a glue gun, you can certainly do that. I've just put my glue into a paint palette there. So the first thing we're going to work on is his hat. So we'll start by cutting out the triangle, and you can just cut the pattern out from the paper. I'll set the rest of the paper aside. Now, if you want to do, there's two different ways you can do this. You can fold it in half along the bottom, and then you can do the same thing with your fabric. You can fold your fabric in half. And when you do that, you place the folded side of the triangle along the folded side of the fabric, and then you only have to cut one or cut half. So I'm going to, you could pin this, you could draw. I don't have a cutting mat here, so I do need to use scissors. I'm just going to use a piece of chalk and outline here. It doesn't have to be exact. These aren't meant to be perfect. And if you didn't want to do the folding technique, you can just lay your fabric flat, lay your triangle right on top, and draw around the whole thing and then cut it out. So let's do that step. Here we go. Just use my scissors, follow my chalked line. And the rest of the fabric that's here, I will show you a couple of options for using it afterwards. You can use it to embellish the gnome, or you can just set it aside for another project. So there's our triangle. That's going to be his hat. This part's quite simple. We'll take the glue, and what we want to do is fold in about half of the fabric. Can you see that? Doesn't have to be exact. It's because I want to put the glue on the right side of that one side. So I'm going to take my glue, hopefully you'll be able to see this, and put a line of white glue all along that side of the fabric. So from the very bottom, and I want to go up to the top, but not right to the top. I want to leave a little bit of space, and I'll explain that to you when we get to that step. Doesn't have to be neat. White glue dries clear. This will be covered with the other side of the fabric. Okay, so if you can see, I've put glue all up there. And what I'm going to do is fold the other side to meet. So it's going to overlap just a little bit. I'll start at the bottom, and I can just press it together. Just has to overlap enough to cover that glue. And like I said, I've glued I've left a little bit without glue. Now this will be the back, so I'm not too concerned about it being perfect, but you can just lay it flat and then press it down. And the flannel is quite absorbent, so you'll find that it dries fairly quickly. And we can just set that aside once we've pressed it down. And when you turn it around, there's his hat. Doesn't it look cute already? Okay, so I'm going to set that down over here. And the next thing we're going to do is make his beard. So we're going to need the piece of cardboard, and you want it vertical. This is how long his beard is going to be. And we need the two long pieces. So we need the lace and we need the t-shirt yarn. Now I find it easiest just to do both of them together. You can do one at a time if you like. If you're doing them together, just want to find the end of each of them. So you put the ends together just like this, and hold them against the cardboard. You don't need to tape it or anything, it won't move. And then all you're going to do, I have them even with the bottom of the cardboard here, and I'm holding both of them together. And it's the same technique if you want to do one at a time. I'm holding both of them, and I'm just going to wrap. That's it. And once I have wrapped a couple of times, I don't need to hold on to those ends anymore. And I'm just going to keep wrapping until I get close to the end. And I'll tell you why I say close. So if it does get tangled, just loosen it up. And like I said, if you're doing the lace first and then the t-shirt yarn, you can do the same technique, just do one at a time. Now, here we have a little bit of t-shirt yarn hanging down and a little bit more lace. So I'm going to keep wrapping the lace. And now I have both of them hanging down. So what I'm going to do is just cut them off even with the cardboard. There we go. And it's handy I have this, so I can either use this or I can use the twine, either one. Here's what happens next. I'm going to take this piece and feed it under at the top. See how I did that? And then all I'm going to do, and it feels like a short piece, t-shirt yarn is really great. You can just pull it and make it longer. I'm going to tie a very, very tight knot. So I'm going to tie it once and pull really hard. Then I'm going to tie it a second time. There we go. So now that that's secured, if anyone's ever made pom-poms, it's a very similar technique. Now what I'm going to do is just cut the bottom, put my scissors in there, and cut all the way across. There we go. There you go. Well done. Now, before I go any further with that, I'm going to take my piece of twine and put it under exactly where I have that t-shirt yarn that I tied the knot. Okay, so I'm going to take the two ends, just tie a single knot. This doesn't have to be neat because you won't see this knot. Okay, just a single knot like that. Anywhere near the end is fine. And then I'm going to take the knot, turn the whole piece of twine around so the knot is under the bottom of that whole thing and you don't see it at all. And you don't have to worry about the ends of the knot from this t-shirt yarn. That will be hidden. So the next step, this is where the magic happens. We're going to take this loop of the twine and our hat, and I'm going to feed it through. And if the glue is dry on your hat, which hopefully it is, you can scrunch the hat down so you can actually fit your fingers in all the way to the end. And if you need help, you can grab a pencil would work well, a crochet hook, anything to help you reach the end of the hat with. So if you're having problems feeding the twine through, here's a little trick. All you need to do is just open up the top of the hat. Just pull it apart, pull the glue apart. You can re-glue it again. And when you see the twine there, just give it a pull, just very gently. And like I said, you can glue that afterwards, which is why we leave that opening. And so let's tidy up his hat here. Part of him stuck to me. And here's the fun part. So here's what you do. Once you've fed the twine all the way through, you want to pull the hat down a little bit. And the very top of the lace bundle where you tied the t-shirt yarn, that's somewhere up here. That's tucked up nicely. And there is the makings of our gnome. So the next step is to glue on his nose. And again, we're going to take white glue, and where you want to put it is right here. So right towards the bottom of the fabric. You don't want it just on his beard, on the lace pieces or the t-shirt yarn. It's not quite stable enough. So right about here, right at the very end of the fabric, his hat. And I'm going to put a little dab of glue there. And this is going to be covered up mostly by the wooden bead, but also by the fur. So again, we don't have to be that neat. And we'll take the wooden bead, and you'll notice it does have holes in it. So you want to put the holes at the sides. And press it down. And then we're going to lay him flat while that dries. Okay, see where that is? Just at the bottom there. And the glue around there will be covered with the wool, and it also dries clear, so we don't have to worry about that. I'm going to give it a little press him down. And then we're going to move on to the fur trim. So you can leave it just as it is, or you can play with it. The wool is very forgiving. You can pull it apart if you want a thicker, fluffier look, or you can leave it, like I said, exactly how it is. It's totally up to you. And you can also do that afterwards. So you can put it on, you can glue it on, and then play around with it. Now you do probably have a little extra, so we can measure it by going around the bottom of his hat. And see, I've got quite a bit extra here. I didn't want you guys to run out, so I made sure there was extra. I'm going to put my finger there. That's plenty. And that's where I'm going to cut it. So again, I'll take my scissors, cut that. I'm going to cut a little bit off the other end as well. And the easiest way to glue this is to put a line of glue all the way around the bottom of his hat. So let's go ahead and do that. And because these are all natural fabrics with quite a bit of texture, they take really well to the glue. So they tend to stick very, very easily. So I'm going to go all the way around the back. Try not to dip his beard into the glue there. Just dabbing it on. Now when I get to his nose, I'm going to go just above his nose. And Now this is the fun part. You can play with that. You can decide exactly sort of the characteristics you want for your gnome. I like that look where it sort of droops over his nose. Okay, so I have a line of glue all the way around the bottom of the hat and just over his nose. So I'm going to start with the very center of the wool roving and place it just above his nose. And then I'm going to follow that glue line, tuck it down there. See how his nose just kind of sticks out? And I'm not pulling very tight. I want it to be really fluffy. So I'm just wrapping it ever so loosely. I still have a little bit of extra here at the back, so I'm going to trim that off. I can always use it for another project, or I can use it for somewhere else on my gnome. And then at the back, you just join the two sides together, press it down. If at any point you need more glue, you can just pull it back and put more glue on. And we'll be able to play with that, like I said, and adjust it as you like. So I don't want any of the red fabric showing under beside his nose. So I'm just going to, and I don't have to pull the whole thing down. I can just pull a little bit of the sides. There we go. Okay, how cute is he? Seriously. Now, there are a few options for finishing him up. There are some beads in your kit, buttons, beads, whatever they might be. You can see this guy. I added some buttons. You will also notice that on the pattern that was included in your kit, there is a pattern for mittens, which look really cute if you add them here. So I'm going to show you a few photos of how to finish it off, different ways you can finish it off, and using the little bits so they don't go to waste, using the bits of fur, the bits of lace. We can do lots of different things. Now, in terms of hanging, we already have the hanger here. And the reason I asked you not to finish gluing all the way to the top is so you can play with his hat. You get to choose. So you can leave it really tall and straight like that, in which case you can just glue it together. But you know what? You can also decide to make it a really slouchy hat. And if you want it that way, then scrunch it down first and then glue it. You can always make this shorter if you want to. So you can play with that. You can also add some natural elements. So if you wanted to add some greenery above the fur, or a small pine cone, you could certainly do that too. You could have a lot of fun with that. So there we go. That is your gnome. You've just finished creating your very own gnome. I hope you love him. I hope you have fun having him in your home. And I hope you've had fun watching this. For other zero waste DIY activities, stay tuned to this channel. Bye.